Week 1 of the NFL season is finished, and we're going to be talking about Dynasty trade targets. We do speed trading. We're going to tell you whether you should trade for or trade away the player. Believe it or not, we're not going to be talking about this guy, and you shouldn't trade him away, even if you have him, even though I'm really unhappy about him. But Joe, let's get to it.
I warned you, Steve, on our start sit show. I said he was going to be a stinker this week.
You went wrong. All right, so Joe, we've got 6 players we're going to be rolling through. We are using keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues to determine a fair value for the player. So we're going to start off with wide receiver Mike Evans. A fair value based on keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues is wide receiver Mike Williams, running back Cam Akers, wide receiver Elijah Moore, or a 2024 second-round pick. So are you trading for or trading away Mike Evans?
This is interesting. I actually think I'd be trading for Mike Evans. I know this week was a good matchup against the Minnesota Vikings defense, but just seeing that Baker was able to get him the ball, that was encouraging to me. And honestly, based off the values, really the two people that if I was to trade Evans away, I'd be most interested in like the second round pick and Elijah Moore. But other than that, I wouldn't be trading him away for those other two guys.
Yeah, I know Mike Williams you are not a fan of Mike Williams. I knew you wouldn't like that. Joe, though, he is getting old. He's going to be 31 years old. And then when I hit 31, you get a little nervous about him.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe it's to be determined, but we haven't seen him slow down. I think he's had 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Everyone was thinking possibly this could be the year he doesn't make it with Baker taking over at quarterback, but Baker keeps rolling. I know it was a matchup. We'll see what he does, against a more formidable defense, but signs are a little bit encouraging with this Bucs offense here.
Yeah, I'm going to trade him away. I'm not for Cam Akers, though. I think Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, the second-round pick, I think any of those are pretty interesting to me. I think I would rather trade away Mike Evans. I think the reality is he's going to be 31 years old. He's a free agent this upcoming season. We don't know where he's going to be. And the reality is when you get that, you have a point, right, in the past what you've said. When you get to that age, you'll probably still be good for one more year. But when he gets around 32, 33, you start to see a fall off. And so I think it's the perfect opportunity to trade him away. If you're not a contender and you have him on your team, this is a great opportunity to trade him away because there's not a guarantee he's going to continue on the success he had on week 1. The Minnesota Vikings secondary is one of the worst in the NFL. And they were horrible last year, and they haven't made much improvement this year. So as a result, if you wait out and hoping that you can get a better return, if he continues this going, I don't know if he will. So in my mind, I say trade him away right now. Take advantage of that week 1 start against the Vikings and then go from there.
Yeah, it's interesting that you still would trade him away for Mike Williams. I mean, Mike Williams already got hurt in the first game. I know he came back there at the end, which I was shocked. I just assumed he was going to be out for the rest of the game.
He's just younger, right? And Keenan Allen is most likely going to be gone from the Chargers next year. So, I think he's got that big playability. He's shown that he can be good. In my mind, you're resetting the clock a little bit. I would much rather I think you could get Elijah Moore plus, honestly. I don't think it would have to be a 1-to-1. Or the second round pick. I probably would prefer either one of those packages better than Mike Williams. I wouldn't even consider Cam Akers.
Yeah. The second round pick and the Elijah Moore is the only thing that really interests me.
All right, next guy, Joe, on the speed trading carousel. We've got running back David Montgomery. Based on keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for running back David Montgomery would be running back Miles Sanders, tight end Darren Waller, running back Rachaad White, or wide receiver Christian Kirk. So are you trading for or trading away running back David Montgomery?
Well, I would trade David Montgomery away for Miles Sanders and Darren Waller. Not sure about the other two guys, but I think this would be a good time to trade David Montgomery. You got people that are, disappointed with the week 1 out of Jahmyr Gibbs. Montgomery, got a ton of touches, wasn't very effective. So I would be looking to trade him away because I think, Gibbs is just going to take on more of that workload as the season goes on.
Yeah, I agree. I would trade away David Montgomery. I think this is the perfect sell high opportunity because people were so excited about Gibbs. They were expecting him to right out of the gate do very well. Wasn't used that much, but when used, he was pretty dynamic. And we already had heard Coach Dan Campbell say, we're going to unleash him. We're just going to give him some time, to get to that point. So I feel like Dan Campbell's putting fantasy managers on notice. And it's like, okay, Montgomery is doing what he's doing now, but this is the time to trade him. So I think I like all the options, honestly, better. I know Kirk really didn't do that much, but he's still relatively young, playing pretty well. Last year, this last game, he wasn't very good, but I think he'll bounce back. And then, I like Miles Sanders much better. Darren Waller, I think he's, as long as he can stay healthy, I think he could be good in New York. And then I like Rashad White better. So I like all these values better than Dave Montgomery. He's going to be 27 years old next year. When you can start creeping up to that age, running backs start to take a dip.
Yeah, for sure. Christian Kirk is interesting. Just scared with that week 1 usage and just how much Calvin Ridley was involved in, and even, Zay Jones as well. Seems like he's almost taken the back seat, but we'll see what happens. It's only 1 week.
All right, Joe, next guy, which you and I were both really excited for. So this is really testing our affinity for running back Antonio Gibson. Based on keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for Antonio Gibson would be wide receiver Rashee Rice, wide receiver Gabriel Davis, running back A.J. Dillon, or running back Roschon Johnson. So you're going to trade for or trade away Antonio Gibson, Joe?
I'm kind of surprised with these values, honestly. Even though I was high on Antonio Gibson, heading into the year here, I think I'd trade him away for those guys. I'm surprised you could get that kind of value for him. I'm just concerned. I just thought that he was going to take over that passing involvement that J.D. McKissic left behind, but then instead it was just like full 180 of the Brian Robinson offense. He was getting the targets, getting all the carries. I was very disappointed with the utilization of Antonio Gibson.
I'm with you, Joe. I think this is one of those that maybe you and I just got wrong because I think we were both really excited about Gibson, like the prospect of who he was as a player. I thought that Bieniemy was going to use him more as a pass catching player, but just didn't see it, and maybe Sam Howell just doesn't, that's just not a part of his game. I mean, you've talked about it in the past. I mean, even people regard him as the best deep ball thrower when coming out in the draft, even when he was drafted later. I mean, he was going to be a first round pick and then just had a horrible season in North Carolina. But maybe it just isn't his game. And so I'm with you. I'm going to trade him away for all these guys, honestly.
And I guess partially should have known too, just because he is an athlete. He does like to scramble, and typically that style of quarterback also doesn't really dump it down to the backs much. But I just thought they might be creative. Gibson's a former wide receiver. Thought they might line up at the slot, but I guess they're using Curtis Samuel for that right now. So yeah, I don't know. Kind of a head scratcher to me.
Yeah, and that's a great point about Curtis Samuel. He's being used in sort of a gadget type of role, which really is what Gibson would really need to be used for, and they're using it for Samuel. So it really takes away that opportunity for Gibson to shine. And the only problem is, I want to say Gibson has fumble problems. And Rivera is the type of guy who will put you in the doghouse. He does not want you to fumble. He cause you turnovers. He's one of those coaches that will shut you down.
Yeah, he did fumble week 1. I do think that he had some opportunities after that, but not much. But yeah, I mean, the fumble definitely didn't help his cause, and you're definitely right on that. This has been an issue for him.
That's the only thing I wonder is, was it he's put him in the doghouse week 1? Maybe he does a little bit better. So I might want to hold them on my bench a little longer, but these are good returns. I question, I know Keep Trade Cut has it. I question maybe if you would be able to get these players, to be honest with you, but that's what the values say.
Yeah, because I was thinking, put him on here for like a buy low opportunity, but that's almost like still selling Gibson high, in my opinion. With some of those values, I was pretty surprised.
So are you enjoying this video so far? Well, if you are, show your support to our new channel by hitting the subscribe button and liking this video. We'll be creating videos all NFL season long, so you're not going to want to miss what we have in store. All right, Joe, next guy, quarterback Daniel Jones. He was your dud, one of your duds of the week. Based on keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for Daniel Jones would be quarterback Jordan Love, running back Ramondre Stevenson, wide receiver Christian Watson, or quarterback Kyler Murray. So are you going to trade for or trade away Daniel Jones?
Yeah, based on those, I think I'd be trading Daniel Jones away. Even though week 1 was disappointing, I guess we'll see what happens after this. But like I said, just concerns about the New York Giants' identity and just seeing that once they got behind, they completely abandoned the run and was just trying to let them pass. Offensive line I thought was going to be better. Could just be the Cowboys' defensive line is really good, but honestly, I think those players that you can get in return based on the keep trade cut values are very interesting.
I'm with you too. I would trade him away. I think Daniel Jones, I think he's overrated. I ended up getting caught up into it, honestly, with doing my projections, just seeing all the pieces around him. I thought he could take that next step, but this was concerning. And I think it's something to monitor, like we talked about in our last episode. So I think if you get any of these players, I think it'd be well worth it. I actually am kind of surprised. Jordan Love's probably the most interesting one because he played okay. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns. He was not the best completion percentage. That's an interesting one. I don't really. I mean, Daniel Jones has got he runs the ball a lot more, so he's going to have you more of a floor for rushing yards. But I don't know. Do you take Jordan Love for the potential there? That's probably one of the more interesting ones. I guess Kyler Murray too, because what's going to happen with Kyler Murray?
I think I would take the potential of Jordan Love, even though that the Giants gave Daniel Jones a 4-year contract. I just don't know how connected they are or convinced of him. And I think if Jordan Love shows out, I think he's got potential. He's got a lot of weapons there in Green Bay. If he has a good season, I think, Green Bay could just show their faith. They're not really the types to, go out and pay big money for free agents. They like to keep their own guys. I think they would reward Jordan Love and he'd stay there.
That's the one positive is he can really grow with this young core. I want to say I saw that they are one of the youngest teams in the NFL. I mean, he's got Dobbs, second-year player, Watson, second-year player, Reed, first-year player, Musgrave, first-year player. A lot of early players that he's working with to kind of create that chemistry.
Yeah, definitely. Really, the only place that they aren't that young at is running back, but you can always figure something out in the draft and stuff there as well. But yeah, as far as a wide receiver core goes, I mean, he really, if he shows out and they trust him, he really can grow with that group.
The next guy on the speed trading carousel is tight end Greg Dulcich from the Denver Broncos. Based on keep trade cut values for Superflex leagues, a fair value for Greg Dulcich would be running back Kyron Williams, wide receiver Jacoby Myers, wide receiver Sky Moore, and tight end Chigozimo Okonkwo. So, Joe, you trading for or trading away your Denver Broncos tight end?
I mean, I would definitely trade him away for Kyron Williams and
Wow.
Jacoby Myers. I definitely wouldn't do it for the other two there, but for those two guys, I think I would. It just seems like, the fact that he can't block is just hindering his usage. Now he's got the hamstring injury. We saw injuries already kind of wreck his rookie season. And I don't know. I just don't know how Sean Payton's going to utilize him. Seeing a lot of Adam Troutman on the field, that's concerning to me. I don't know. Maybe the best case would be for him to not be the Broncos, and maybe I'd feel differently.
He's a tough one. You and I went back and forth like a yo-yo as far as what we thought about him. We were worried about the Troutman addition. We're thinking, oh boy, this spells the end for Dulcich. Then we were hearing Sean Payton talking about how he sees a vision for him, how he's going to be the Joker. Then we started to buy in again. Then you started to fade on him. I still tried to stay strong with him, especially after the Judy injury, but abysmal start for him. And you're right, he's not a good blocker. And Peyton prioritizes that, at least in Denver, because he wants to run first. So I think I would trade him away at this point. He'll never be, I don't think, a Goddard or an Andrews or one of those guys. I think he's just going to be a middling tight end. Rather, throw the dart and maybe, I think Chigozimo Okonkwo is a really athletic tight end. I think he's going to get used in Tennessee. I believe in him more. And then take a dart throw with Jacoby Myers and Sky Moore. I don't know about Kyron Williams, though. Might be too early for me on him. I know he did great this past week, but he might just be relevant this season, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that could be true, but I just think you might even be able to get more out of him for this current season than you can out of Dulcich, and I don't want any part of Sky Moore. I'm out on him. I mean, Patrick Mahomes doesn't even look his way. You had Kadarius. Sky Moore ran the most routes on that team, and instead you're trying to get the ball to Kadarius Toney, who was out there with brick hands and not even looking at Sky Moore. and barely getting targets. It's just crazy to me.
Well, maybe we should have been talking about Sky more, but we're going to talk about your favorite player in the NFL, Joe. Wide receiver Kadarius Toney.
Oh,
Based on keep trade cut value for Superflex leagues, the fair value for Kadarius Toney would be tight end Trey McBride, wide receiver Zay Jones, wide receiver Justin Ross, his fellow Chiefs counterpart, or wide receiver Tyler Boyd. So you're trading for or trading away Kadarius Toney?
If somebody wants this guy, trade him away. I wasn't on this guy coming into the season. I just think he's a gadget player. He's already shown the ability to not be able to stay on the field. He's constantly hurt. It's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough after this game for the Chiefs and Mahomes to trust this guy moving forward.
You know, Joe, it's always a problem of mine. You call it out on me every time, but I'm just one of those people that just tries to hang on and hang on and hang on until I just have hang on for too long and it's time to just let it go. But I'm going to hang on a little bit longer.
Oh, boy.
For Kadarius Toney, I would trade for him, trade any of those guys away. So I'd be the guy who'd be acquiring him from you. I just think he's got too much potential. I know he did not play well. Brett Veach, its GM, has talked about how he has a lot of confidence in him. And I know he had a really rough game, but they traded for him for a reason. He could just be just a sunk cost, but I just think that Andy Reid, I have more confidence in him than Sky Moore, I'll tell you that. I'm with you on Sky Moore, completely out on him. I actually like Rashee Rice showed more promise in his one game in his rookie year compared to what Sky Moore did in the entire season. But honestly, they need Kelsey back. I mean, to be honest with you, that offense is in shambles without him. But I don't know, Joe. I think I'm trading for Toney. He's just that potential, man. Former first round pick. I don't know. I just got to hold on a little longer.
Well, that's perfect. I can trade him to you in my RSO league because I absolutely hate that he's on my roster and would love to just get rid of this guy. I have more faith in Sky Moore. He led this team in routes run just for whatever reason. Patrick Mahomes wasn't throwing him the ball. I would take the flyer on Sky Moore turning this thing around. That I just think Kadarius Toney is that gadget player, and I just question his involvement with the offense here, especially once Kelsey comes back.
You want Tyquan Thornton or Rondale Moore for him?
It could be interesting, possibly.
I'll make the deal right now. Put your money where your mouth is. Here it is. I'll give you either one of them for Kadarius Toney. Do we have a deal?
Yeah, I could trade him for Rondale Moore. Sure, I'll take a flyer on him.
All right. The trade has been accepted. It will be filed at RSO, and we'll see how this goes. But it has been accepted, folks. And that's speed trading. We talk about Dynasty trade targets. That's what we're here for. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.